Hey listeners, Justus here. Before we get into this week's episode, I have to make a confession. I made a mistake. In this week's episode about Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop, I repeatedly said that the film was released in 1986. In actuality, the film RoboCop, directed by Paul Verhoeven, was released in the year 1987. I am deeply, deeply sorry for this mistake, and I will attempt to learn, grow, and do some fucking research for once before opening my big fat mouth on a microphone. Thank you for all of your continued support in this extremely difficult and trying time. But I know that together we can push through mistakes like this and come out better on the other side. Now, on to this week's episode.
I'm David Scandura.
I'm Justus Burkett.
And today we're here to find out, is RoboCop the greatest movie ever made?
I'd buy that for $1.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey guys. How's it going? It's George. And what the?
What are we just started recording an episode, guys. It's a very convenient time for you to drop in. What are you doing here? What are we we're not covering a Star Wars movie today. I just want to make sure you know that.
Oh.
It's
Or what are you guys talking about next week?
Shrek.
Oh. You can't find time to talk about the Phantom Menace?
I mean, we don't have it on the schedule. I mean, David, were you planning to talk about the Phantom Menace anytime soon?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's not on the agenda necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. Although David and I sort of have talked about, what is there to say about your wonderful Star Wars prequels that hasn't already been said?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? But
Well, maybe you guys could talk about American Graffiti or THX.
I would be
1138.
super down to talk about either of those movies. Now, Watto, you are in neither of those films, to my knowledge.
No, but I did audition for Shrek.
I'm honestly shocked that you didn't get it apart. It seems like you fit the vibe of that movie perfectly to me.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up, honestly, that I didn't get to be in Shrek. But we just wanted to wish you guys a happy TGMEM-iversary.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, congratulations on doing the show for so long. Hey, since we've been living in your walls, quick question. Can you maybe find some different food to give us?
Yeah, man, we're really fucking sick of eating rats all the time. My shits are insane.
I mean, to be fair, it's not a B&B. You're not paying me any rent or any kind. You just took up residence in my walls. I didn't realize it was my responsibility to feed you. Also, George, don't you have millions of dollars?
Yeah, George, can't you get fucking DoorDash or HelloFresh or something?
I'll even let you deliver it. I'll let you get it delivered to my walls. That's fine. Just on your own dime, man. You're one of the most financially successful film directors of all time.
Why don't you go back to Skywalker Ranch or something?
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
All right.
But we just wanted to congratulate you guys on making it this far, and maybe someday you can talk about one of my movies for once, you fucking assholes.
George, don't be such an asshole to them. Okay, guys, we gotta go back into your walls now. Have a good episode.
Bye, guys. Have a good episode.
Bye, George Lucas. Bye, Watto.
See you guys.
Thanks for the TGMEM-iversary wishes. Man, those guys are always popping on mic when you least expect, or they're gone, right? They're not going to hear me, or want them to.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just always dropping in.
I can't figure them out either. They seem kind of cool sometimes. But
Yeah.
Other times they're really fucking weird about it.
Yeah, they played a really weird, mean prank on us during the Shaky Cam summer camp and all that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know, just weird vibes with those guys. I don't know. Anyway, David. Yes, happy TGMEM-iversary. This is episode 52. There are 52 weeks in a year. So really this is like the actual anniversary episode. I mean, they're all the anniversary episodes, but
we took a couple weeks off, so I don't know if we're exactly lined up.
Oh, that's true.
I could check, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we're still celebrating our 1-year anniversary for the show.
Greatest movie ever made. The show where we watch a movie until it's the greatest movie ever made.
Your move, creep.
A movie that is so thoroughly entertaining and compelling, the way you're watching is the only thing that matters in the world.
Oh, yeah. And oh boy, if there has ever been one of those, it is perhaps the film that we are talking about this week on the show. We're talking about RoboCop this week.
Yeah.
Before we get into RoboCop, how are you, David?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Not much to report. My media recommendation is the Sonoran birria hash from local Flagstaff diner, Miss Zips.
Fuck yeah, dog.
Delicious.
I've never had it, but I will consume it based on your recommendation.
I don't go to Miss Zips all that often. It seems like they have weird hours.
Yeah.
But I went there for breakfast with my dad yesterday. And it was fucking delicious.
I don't think
so
I've ever been
good.
to Miss Zips.
Yeah, they got like burgers and stuff, and they're a good breakfast place.
Yeah.
I should go there more often, honestly.
Yeah. I gotta pop in. See what that birria hash is all about.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't have any actual film movies or CD or music to recommend or books. I've just been consuming shit lately, and like, I rewatched. I did the full Dune experience. Did 5 hours of Dune yesterday.
Again?
No, I haven't. That's the first time I've done 5 hours of Dune back to back.
You mean the two Villeneuve movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, back when we recorded our Dune episodes in preparation for Dune Part 2, you were watching like the movie and the sci-fi miniseries. But I guess that would be more than 5 hours probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I did. I watched Dune 1 and 2 back to back.
Hell yeah.
With a poop in between, as God intended. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. My mood this week and my media recommendation basically are the same thing, which is Chat Pile had a new single from their album Cool World come out, and just anytime a new single from that album drops, which has happened a total of twice, it's the highlight of my week.
It seems like every time Chat Pile drops something, it's like a major turning point in your life.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
good.
it becomes your personality for a little while.
That's correct. Yeah. They're probably my favorite band working right now.
Okay.
Like releasing new stuff right now. I love them and I love their new single. Another media recommendation. I'm good. I don't have anything to say about how I am other than I'm good. My other media recommendation is the Podmaster watched Lisa Frankenstein, the Diablo Cody scripted film. I don't remember the director's name right off the top of my head, but she watched it and she fucking loved Lisa Frankenstein and wanted me very badly to watch Lisa Frankenstein. So the Podmaster and I watched Lisa Frankenstein, and Lisa Frankenstein is good as hell. It's a good movie. So that's my other media recommendation. It's like fun, light, silly. The Podmaster compared it to Heathers. I think that's a good comparison point. It's a very Heathers-esque movie. But you can also tell that it was written by the same person who wrote like Juno and Jennifer's Body. You know, she's got the Diablo Cody of it all, really firing on all cylinders in that one. Script's pretty funny, and some good performances. And check it out. And another thing you should check out is the behind the scenes documentary of RoboCop, where
Robo wants an Oreo.
Peter can have an Oreo. Robo doesn't get an Oreo. Robo wants an Oreo. Oh, God.
Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Robo wants an Oreo. There is a clip from a behind the scenes documentary, like making of documentary of RoboCop. Which is just like this guy who worked on set. I don't even know what his job was, having just the most insane alleged interaction with Peter Weller.
I haven't got a damn clue about Randy Moore and his fucking Oreos.
Peter Weller, did you know this? Peter Weller is like a Renaissance art scholar and has like taught university classes and shit.
Oh, I absolutely did not know that.
I was going to drop it on you at some point because I was watching the History Channel once and it was like Engineering an Empire or something, and it was an episode on Rome. And fucking RoboCop is hosting this History Channel documentary. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, but he has like a PhD and has taught university classes.
I mean, I guess I see why he works so well in this movie directed by Paul Verhoeven, another guy who is an academic who is intellectually overqualified for the type of movies he is known for.
Who wrote a book about Jesus.
Yes. Is like part of like an academic society that studies the historical figure of Jesus. Yeah, this, and that's really the thing with Paul Verhoeven and with this movie is like Paul Verhoeven's movies that he is best known for by guys like us, right?
Yeah.
Which is this movie, Starship Troopers, and Total Recall, right? He has directed many other movies, but the sort of ones that dudes like us, white guys in their 30s, right, glom onto the most from him tend to be those three. And they're his sci-fi action satire trilogy.
And these are the only movies from him that I've seen. I've only seen RoboCop, Starship Troopers, and Total Recall. I haven't seen Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Showgirls. And then he did like he did films before he came to America. I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, the only other one from him I've seen is Elle, which was it got a Best Actress nomination at the Oscars some year, whatever year it came out. And Elle is totally different. It's more in his Basic Instinct. It's one of his like sexual thrillers.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a very complicated movie because the whole crux of it is sexual assault, and it's so it's more in the vein of Showgirls and his I am a white guy with something to say about sexual assault movies. But anyway, that's the only one of his I've seen. But his three sci-fi action satires, right, are all three of them, I would argue, are a perfect mix of intellectual and heady and kind of like think pieces about consumerism and capitalism and fascism, and also they are like the most fun, dumb, mindless action movies that have ever been created simultaneously, and you can watch them as either thing or both at once, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I think to varying degrees. I think like the satire and the action are really like neck and neck in RoboCop for me.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect 50-50 balance in this one. Yeah.
Starship Troopers, I think he leans into the satire more.
Yes.
And then Total Recall is much more of an action film.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think you get like a 70-30 in each of those movies, right? And then a perfect 50-50 mix in RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you, I mean, this is like, again, showing our hand really early. There's not going to be any sort of tension on this episode about how we feel about this movie.
Yeah.
How would you rank them?
The three movies?
The three.
RoboCop is number 1 for me. Starship Troopers is number 2, and Total Recall is 3, despite the fact that I think all three are 5-star movies. Like, I think all three of these are some of the best action movies anyone has ever made. I love Total Recall. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. However, I think my preferred mode for Paul Verhoeven is satire, and the Starship Troopers stuff just really fucking gets me.
Yeah.
Also, that movie, like, Total Recall is very violent. Starship Troopers is fucking violent as shit, which is also a thing I love about that movie. Is just like, it is like so over the top with the blood and guts, and I'm like, I kind of also fuck with that really hard.
Yeah.
But it's close. It's a close 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And what's your 1, 2, 3 ranking?
I mean, like me, they're all like you said, they're all 5 stars from me. So, it's Total Recall, RoboCop, and Starship Troopers at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think Starship Troopers has improved the most for me. Like, when I first saw it, I didn't really get it. I was like, this is okay. It's kind of cheesy and dumb in places. And I think it gets progressively better each time that I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I think there is a hair too much like jank in that movie in comparison to RoboCop and Total Recall, which I think are really like streamlined, well-oiled machines on every front. But I do Starship Troopers is like of all of these, Starship Troopers is kind of the comfort movie. I mean, they're all comfort movies, but like I'll just put on Starship Troopers and just chill out and on a lazy Sunday.
I get that choice for sure, because it is the one that I feel like you can sort of look away from for 15 minutes and come back to, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm still in.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like with RoboCop and Total Recall, to your point, they're like both such tight movies that if you look away for 15 minutes, you like missed 3 of the best things you've ever seen in your life.
And the reason I like Total Recall more than this is because it has a 6-foot-tall Austrian man in it. And it's also just an incredible role from him. We'll talk about Total Recall eventually, but
don't get me wrong. I love Arnold in Total Recall, which we will talk about on our eventual Total Recall episode. But okay, so the cast in Total Recall is great. The cast in all 3 of the movies that we just talked about is really great. The cast in RoboCop, watching it this time, I was like, is this one of the best casts in any movie
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, there's no one weak here.
No.
And a lot of people here are doing like career best work.
And also, it's the thing where, so like in RoboCop, there's sort of 3 main groups of people that you're checking in with throughout the movie. And other than, RoboCop and Lewis, right? But there's like the groups of side characters that he sort of moves through the worlds of are like the cops, the criminals, and the OCP people, right? And in each of those groups, there is not one person who is not completely fucking nailing it. Like all the criminals, like all the underlings of Red Foreman, and like everyone in that police department who like gets a line of dialogue, and like all the background people at OCP, all the people in the lab at OCP. I'm just like, fuck yeah, that guy's back. Hell yeah, I love that lady with the glasses. Like every time,
I'm in love with the lady with the glasses.
The lady with the glasses is one of the best characters in any movie.
She comes on screen, I'm like, oh, mommy.
I love.
I think she wants to fuck RoboCop.
Yes.
Because we're jumping around. That's totally fucking fine, I guess. It's RoboCop.
I mean, it's RoboCop. You've probably seen RoboCop. And if you haven't seen RoboCop, see RoboCop.
Like, what are you doing with your life? It's in the Criterion Collection, for Christ's sake. Like, RoboCop is in the Criterion Collection.
And you know what? Well-deserved is all I have to say. Anyway,
She kisses him during, like, the New Year's party.
Yes, which that's the scene that happens in when he wakes up and is seeing, like, these little flashes as time is passing and he's being rebuilt, is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a great scene.
Such a good sequence. But yeah, and like towards the end, there's this New Year's Eve party, and she like goes to kiss him and like leaves a lipstick print on his visor.
But even before that, when Bob Morton is shaking his hand, and she's like, "He could crush every bone in your hand."
Yeah.
The subtext there is, and I want him to do that to my neck while he's fucking me.
I'm pretty sure this lady works in robotics due to, yes, some personal interest that she has. She became like a robotics technician at OCP because she was like, I'm going to make a robot that I can fuck.
And I mean, there's even just like people that are in one scene and are never in the movie again. Yeah. Like the guy that robs the convenience store and is just yelling fuck me over and over again.
That is it's one of my favorite things in any action movie is this guy is robbing this convenience store that this Meemaw and Peepop are running. Yeah. It's a family convenience store, and he has like this fucking fully automatic like machine gun in his trench coat that he pulls out, and then RoboCop comes in through the doors. He turns around, looks at RoboCop, and is like, fuck me. And then and then for the rest of the sequence, until he is like fucking clotheslined into a fucking cooler by RoboCop, he just is screaming fuck me like 30 times. Fuck me, which I said in the first time I ever watched this movie, my review of it was, that I love that guy, and that would be me if I saw RoboCop. Like, even if I wasn't committing a crime, if I was just minding my business, walking around town, and I saw fucking RoboCop, I'd be like, fuck me!
I feel like the guy I would be in this movie is the cop who always wants to go on strike. Not that I'd be a cop, but I would just be like,
Yeah.
these fucking guys are not paying us enough. We should go on strike.
Yeah. And then the sergeant, who rocks,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah,
Yes.
the sergeant rules. I would watch a 30-minute sitcom every week of just shit happening in the police department lobby.
Yes.
Of just all the fucking weirdos that they bring in and all of the antics.
I'm a repeat offender. I repeat, I will offend again. That guy is like my favorite just random criminal in the lobby, of which there's several in this movie. Like, anytime, to your point, anytime they cut back to that lobby, there's just another weirdo getting booked, right? But the guy who says, I repeat, I will offend again. And then later he's like, as RoboCop comes in, is that when he comes in to book Boddicker? It doesn't matter. But like, RoboCop comes in, and that guy has like a little like one-liner exchange with one of the cops. He's great.
And we're introduced to Nancy Allen by just beating the shit. She's just beating the fucking shit out of a guy.
Yeah.
In the lobby of the precinct.
Yeah.
I think this would be a very successful sitcom on like TBS.
Yeah.
just the angry sergeant and the few cops and the colorful characters of old Detroit.
Well, I think part of that is intentional, that they're like sort of, I think Paul Verhoeven is sort of doing a send-up of cop shows a little bit in this as well. So I think you get that feeling because Paul Verhoeven sort of put it in your head on purpose, because the thing where Murphy spins the gun, he talks about how his kid saw it on a TV show called TJ Laser.
Yeah.
And there is a well-known cop show starring William Shatner called TJ Hooker, right? And
oh, that's right.
yes,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure it's a direct reference to that Shatner show. And so I think Paul Verhoeven is intentionally being like, I'm kind of depicting cops the way that they're depicted on TV in this movie.
I think you're absolutely right, and I just completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Because Verhoeven has such a keen awareness of American media and American consumerism.
He understands America better than any American director that I've ever seen, except for maybe David Lynch.
Yeah, he just knows how to filter it through his European sensibilities and like his perspective on things.
Yeah.
And blow it up to such a larger than life satirical level.
Yeah.
That I think because it's so larger than life, some people do just watch it and not even, it doesn't even register to them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is just America.
Right.
Which I felt during the news segments. Like the news segments and the commercials don't hit as hard for me, because it's just like, yeah, this is and that's what makes it scary, right? Is like, this is just the news that I see every day.
Right. Which I think was Verhoeven's point even back in 86, right? Because it's like the Cold War was still kind of going on in 86, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, we just might all get nuked to death at any second.
Yeah.
You know?
And in comparison to like Starship Troopers, where I think the news segments in Starship Troopers are so over the top.
Yes.
That it's like, hey, we're getting there, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Oh, man. The segments in Starship Troopers, they make me scream with laughter every time. Would you like to know more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've been talking about the movie a little bit, but I haven't really asked you. I asked you your ranking, but like your history with RoboCop, because mine's pretty short. I saw it 2 years ago for the first time. You lent me your copy on Blu-ray,
that's right.
and that was the first time I had seen it. Immediately fell in love with it, and it became one of my favorite movies of all time. And that is the only other time I've watched it. This was my second time with RoboCop.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I have had more familiarity with Total Recall, because in high school I went through a phase where I was watching. I intentionally was seeking out as many Schwarzenegger movies as I could.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw a lot of them. So I fell in love with Total Recall. I watched Starship Troopers in college for the first time when I had a sci-fi kick, and like a sci-fi alien movie kick. And RoboCop, I was aware of it. I had probably seen it once during like high school or whatever, and then caught it on TV a bunch. And it wasn't until in the last couple of years where I got my own copy of it, that I've been watching it. And I end up watching it like multiple times a year.
Yeah.
Every year it seems like I do a Verhoeven day where because I work from home, I'll sit on the couch and work on my laptop and watch Total Recall, Starship Troopers, and RoboCop in one day.
Play Verhoeven movies in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a movie that I had only seen it, like I said, for the first time a couple of years ago. But it is a movie, to your point, that I caught bits of on TV a bunch.
Mhm.
Like, it was just always playing on, like, a Sunday afternoon on TV, like, obviously heavily edited.
heavily
Yeah.
edited.
I also feel like I saw RoboCop 2 on TV a bunch. Like, that I remember a bunch of scenes from,
Mhm.
just playing on TV when I was growing up.
I've only seen RoboCop 2 once, and it was recently, and boy, oh boy, will we be talking about that, because RoboCop 2 is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And it kind of rocks.
Yeah. Yes, I love that the villain is a brain in a mech suit. But yeah, so we've talked about a little bit of the movie, but like we'll still sort of go through it the way that we normally do
Yeah.
to some extent. But like, first of all, like, just this title card just flying at the screen, like it's the establishing shot of old Detroit, and this fucking metal title card, RoboCop, is the perfect way that this movie could open. The score immediately, from like the first second.
Basil Pallador's score for RoboCop is one of the great movie scores.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It's like I was in awe this time.
I don't know that
listening to this score.
I don't know that he's done that many. But he did Conan the Barbarian, this, and the other one that I can think of off the top of my head. I think he did Hunt for Red October.
Okay, yeah.
And they're all just like great, big, bombastic scores that like you forget how good they are until you watch the movie, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be stuck in my head for a fucking week.
Yeah, and a lot of the music in this is that like big Hollywood blockbuster bombastic score.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is also because this movie is profoundly sad.
Yes.
And the music does a really good job of amplifying those moments. Like when Murphy goes back to his house, the score in that section is like so haunting.
Yeah, I was feeling that too. Like there's a mournful beauty to those scenes.
Yeah.
And and part of it is just the way that the film is editing together Murphy's memories with, you know, the scenes in the present day. Part of it is Peter Weller's performance, but like because he has to be a robot and he can't emote a ton and he only has, you know, the lower half of his face to act with.
Yeah.
Basil Pallador's score is telling you how he's feeling in those scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, the music is sort of the rest of his emotional expression. Yeah, it's so good. So before he's a robot that the score has to speak for, he's full on Peter Weller, who's just been transferred to the old Detroit police force from another station because like OCP, the company who has like bought the police, is like transferring a bunch of officers there because they're like clearing out all the criminals to make way for this new development called Delta City that they want to build, right? So like OCP, the whole thing with this movie, kind of the whole satire, the whole source from which all the satire stems, is the fact that at its core, this movie is just about corporate greed and like corporate infighting. Everything that happens in this movie, the good guys and the bad guys are both working for OCP. It just rival factions within this huge conglomerate company, right? And at the end of the day, the genius thing about this piece of satire is the hero wins, but the hero wins for the corporate overlord who created him and caused his the destruction of his soul.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
so him winning is him reclaiming his humanity.
Right.
That's
Yes.
that's the victory.
But he doesn't defeat the enemy here, which is OCP, right? But yeah, so like OCP is trying to clear old Detroit of crime so that they can just like build Delta City, right? But they're also fueling crime there so that people will want Delta City instead of old Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things about this movie that I really fuck with.
Yeah, that they're creating a problem and then selling you the solution.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
The Delta City, I don't even think it even is around in RoboCop 2, maybe not even RoboCop 3, which I haven't seen. Delta City is this thing that's coming in the future, and it's this dream that they're trying to sell to people. But really, I think what Verhoeven is suggesting by showing that Delta City is being built on the same greed and corruption and violence that old Detroit has fallen into is like dystopia is not an aberration of civilization. It is the natural end product of civilization.
Yeah.
Like we are inevitably marching towards dystopia by organizing a society and a civilization, especially one that is run by corporations.
Yeah.
Because the name is Omni Consumer Products.
Yes.
They control everything.
Yeah.
And the scene where Dick Jones is like, we have investments in prisons and hospitals and defense contractors. And it's like, that's Spotify now? Like,
Right.
Spotify's like, why does the CEO of Spotify have stocks in Raytheon or whatever?
Yeah. And
Because that's just the way corporations operate.
Right. And when Boddicker says that he's going to need like heavy firepower to take down RoboCop, he's like talking to Dick Jones and he's like, I need military firepower. And Dick Jones says, we practically are the military. I was just like, man, that hits, I think, even harder in 2024 than it did in 1986.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, this movie has gotten more relevant.
The visual metaphor that sells this idea to me better than anything else in the movie, is also one of the coolest scenes in the movie where the one of the guys in the boardroom gets blasted apart by Ed 209. And it is the squibs in this movie are ridiculous.
This movie,
they load this fucking guy up with like no less than 50 squibs and blast him apart for our glory and our entertainment.
If squibs can be considered an art form in their own right, this movie is the Sistine Chapel of squibs.
Yeah. It's Beethoven's Ninth of squibs.
It is squibs in their most perfect form.
But this guy getting blasted apart and falling back onto the model of Delta City, and the blood running down and dripping on the city, like that's the visual metaphor here.
Yeah.
It's perfect stuff.
Yes, yeah. And to think some people can watch this movie and miss the satire. But yeah, and the news clips at the very beginning of the movie, before we even get to Murphy, right? Those go a long way to explaining to you, the viewer, how Omni Consumer Products just controls everything. Because like there's like little hints planted in all the commercials that they play and shit that like all of this is just the same company, right? They play like the hospital commercial where the guy's like showing off the synthetic heart. And then later on there's like a commercial for like a board game where it's Battleship but you nuke your opponent.
I would play that
try
game.
not to get nuked. I would also
that
play
game
Nukem.
That game looks fun.
I would play the shit out of Nukem.
I feel like you can actually. I feel like with the way that board gaming is these days, with Kickstarters and all these like companies putting out these super complex board games for the real board game heads. Nukem already exists. You can buy that.
Almost definitely, yeah. Some nerd has made Nukem. But I feel like there's hints.
I like the way the kid says, Pakistan is threatening my borders. Continue.
Yeah. I just feel like there's little hints in like all those commercials that like all of these are just like OCP subsidiaries, right? Like every commercial that you see is somehow just part of the same company, is sort of the vibe I get from this movie. And I'm like, it's just so genius the way that they sprinkle those commercials and like the news segments and stuff throughout, where it's like, yeah, this company that's doing this is behind everything and they're basically invincible, like, you know. And so you can have a small victory in this like internal scuffle between like RoboCop and Boddicker, or even between like Dick Jones, like even with Dick Jones, a senior president as your villain, right? Like you can kill that guy. But like the company is too big to be destroyed.
Well,
you know?
and that's clearly demonstrated with like Bob Morton and I can't remember the other main guy, but like the movie is like the way that these guys climb up the corporate ladder is their competition for these jobs just literally being killed off.
Yes. Yeah. Which which I also love. So Murphy joins the force. We meet the sergeant, who's fucking fantastic. I love him so much. And we get a precursor to the shower scene in Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah.
Where there's a co-ed changing room.
What if there were co-ed showers and we showed dicks and boobs? Okay, we'll film that for my movie about the robot cop.
But it's much less explicit than the Starship Troopers one.
Did you know he shot that Starship Trooper scene naked?
He did. Oh, wait, I've heard this before.
The cast was like, if you're gonna shoot us all naked, you have to shoot it naked too.
And he was like, okay.
Okay, I am Verhoeven. I am a pervert, so I will do that.
I will just pretend like I'm going to the sauna. So it's Murphy's first day. He has his new partner, Lewis. Lewis is the best.
Yeah,
I
rocks.
fucking love Lewis.
Nancy Ellen crushes this role.
Yes, Nancy Ellen crushes it. I just love the character, like, because she's like tough as nails. She's like a TV cop, right? But then when he gets all RoboCopped, when the RoboCopping happens, she like recognizes him almost immediately, and is just like kind to him and trying to reconnect with him, right? From the jump. She's never like afraid of him. It's immediately like, hey, that's like my new partner. Right? And she knew him for one day.
Yeah.
Which the amount of fucking shit she goes through for him in this movie is crazy when you remember that she knew him for one day.
Yeah. Well, Murphy has like the worst first day that any cop in any movie has ever had.
Yeah. I think it does help that it is sort of implied by the performances that Lewis kind of has a crush on Murphy.
Well, Murphy's married.
Yes.
But there is definitely some sort of romantic or sexual tension between them.
Yeah,
that
they
I
have
think
chemistry.
But like it's they're both really charming and they have a great rapport, so that even though we have known these characters for a very short time and they've known each other for a very short time.
Yeah.
When Murphy gets blasted apart by Red Foreman.
Yes.
That is a genuinely sad scene and a sad moment, and you mourn for the loss of not just Murphy, but for their relationship.
Yeah, when they go out on that call, like one of the moments that you're talking about is when they're like deciding who should drive the car. And Nancy Allen's like, oh, like, I better drive. You don't know your way around this part of the city. And he gets in the driver's seat and is like, I'll drive. I always like to drive when I'm breaking in a new partner. Right. And it's just like the little banter stuff. And it is a little flirtatious and it's like very endearing immediately. And you don't like need a lot of it to get fully invested, like you were saying.
And the scene when he's twirling the gun like DJ Laser,
right?
And he's like, "All right, you got me." Like I think it's cool.
Yeah, because at first he's like, "Well, you know, it's this TV show my kid likes, right? So I'm learning how to do it to impress my kid." And he's like, "Okay, yeah. Also, I think it's badass. Also, I want to do the William Shatner thing. So what?" But yes, so they go on this call. Kurtwood Smith is we've been calling him Red Foreman. Because he plays Red Foreman in that
That's all
show.
I see. That's all I see is Red Foreman with a gun.
Yes. But Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Boddicker is the big bad of this movie. And we meet him when Murphy and Lewis get dispatched on this call for about like an armed robbery, right? And oh god, this first scene with Clarence Boddicker just perfectly sets the tone for this character. And let me know your thoughts on this, David. I think Clarence Boddicker is in serious conversation for best action movie villain of all time. He's like up there for me with like Hans Gruber. He's like up in the top tier for me.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There are this casting decision to put Kurtwood Smith in this role is like galaxy brain level thinking on the part of the casting director.
Genius.
Because he is simultaneously a scumbag and sleazy and pathetic and sadistic and hilarious all at once. It is funny. It is very funny to me, just the visual of this multicultural gang of psychos being run by a balding middle-aged man with glasses.
Yeah.
That in a few days would, or a few short years after this movie, would become a sitcom dad that threatens to put his foot in your ass.
Yeah. He's putting some foots and asses in this first scene.
Yeah.
The fucking guy who's driving the getaway van, the member of his gang, who kind of looks like Gut from Stone Cold.
Emil.
Emil. Yeah.
Emil,
guy,
who
yes.
this movie
The guy
is,
whose body gets melted.
This movie is, so RoboCop, I think, is partially a superhero movie.
Yes.
And I think the score does that, and I think the narrative does that.
Yeah.
So if this is a superhero movie about RoboCop, it is the supervillain origin story for Melting Man. And I am just the whole movie I'm just waiting for Emil to like, oh man, you don't know what's coming, but you're gonna fucking get it at the end. Yeah, he becomes the Toxic Avenger for 2 seconds and then dies.
We'll talk about it more when we get closer
yeah.
to the scene, but he has one of the best deaths that has ever been in a movie. But yeah, so Emil's driving this van, and as if he is already Red Foreman, Kurtwood Smith is just kicking him a bunch, telling him to drive faster. He's like slapping the side of his head and fucking kicking him, being like, go, fucking go! And I'm like, I wouldn't enjoy working for Clarence Boddicker.
Yeah, the gang dynamic is very interesting, because on the one hand, like, they seem to be really cool with each other.
Yeah.
But also, Clarence Boddicker might just throw you out of the back of a van in a moving vehicle.
Yeah.
Or blow up your car with a rifle and a gun that shoots explosions.
Yeah. He asks this guy in his gang if he can fly here.
Can you fly, Bobby?
Yeah, and just tosses him out of the back of this armored car because the cops are in pursuit. And much like in Stone Cold, we just throw a person on the windshield of a car. A moving, like from the way it is shot, it is very clear that this stuntman just hits the windshield of this car while it is in motion, which is fucking awesome, and like rolls off of it. The stunt is really good.
Yeah.
It looks cool as hell.
Yeah, this car chase is awesome, and I always forget about it. I remember, I remember the boardroom scene. I remember the shootout in the drug factory and the shootout in the steel mill. But this opening car chase is really, really good, and I always forget how cool it is.
Yeah.
Also, Leland Palmer is here.
Yes, Ray Wise.
Ray Wise is in this movie.
Ray Wise is the main heavy of this movie. Like, Clarence Boddicker is the big bad.
Yeah.
Ray Wise is like his second in command. He is like the secondary villain of RoboCop.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Can I hit you with a hot take?
Yeah.
Ray Wise looks really hot in this.
Oh, I kind of think everyone in Boddicker's gang is sort of hot in some way.
Emil, I don't think Emil is.
Yeah, not really.
Emil has a lot going on with that facial hair and his haircut.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he turns into Melting Guy.
If you looked at my Letterboxd review, you already know my hot take. I kind of think Kurtwood Smith is a little sexy in this movie. Ray Wise, I completely agree. Kurtwood Smith, I'm like, is Kurtwood Smith hot in RoboCop? When he tongues that grenade pin, it's like sort of scuzzy and gross, but I'm sort of like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get you.
I don't know. I think he's like, it's working for someone, and whether that someone is me, I'm undecided on.
Ray Wise is one of my favorite guys to show up in a movie.
Oh, yeah. What a face.
Just what an actor. Like, the dude's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, he rocks.
Have you seen Fargo? You haven't seen Fargo season 3, have you?
No, I've only seen 1 and 2.
He has a brief role in Fargo season 3 that is maybe steals the entire show.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is incredible stuff.
I gotta check it out.
He also occasionally shows up in a lot of the weird religious God's Not Dead ass movies, which that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, great to see him here. Love this group of fucking asshole criminals.
Yeah. I mean, all of them are great. They all have their own thing. There's the one guy who like cackles all the time, which is great. But yeah, either before, because the car chase basically ends, they like chase them to like this warehouse. either before the car chase or between them chasing him to the warehouse and Murphy getting shot. Like somewhere in here is the boardroom scene that we were talking about, where the fucking executives at OCP are meeting and Ed 209 gets demoed, right? Like they come in and they're like, this is our fucking security robot. I fucking love so much that OCP programmed this robot to roar like a lion.
Yeah.
It is one of it, much like Kurtwood Smith's casting. It is like a galaxy brain decision that should not work in this movie, that this giant security droid just makes monster noises, and I'm like, that's dumb as hell. But it works for the tone of this movie. Like, it works for the movie. Why would they do that? I don't know. They're OCP. They're a fucking evil company. Sure, we'll make our police robot roar like it's a fucking werewolf.
Well, I also the other like galaxy brain decision of the boardroom scene is the trifecta of incredible asshole 80s corporate villain casting of Dan O'Herlihy as the old man.
Yes.
Miguel Ferrer as Bob Morton.
Yes.
And Ronnie Cox as Dick Jones.
Yeah.
A villain, an actor who plays villains so well that Paul Verhoeven also cast him as an asshole corporate villain in Total Recall.
Yeah. Just like, hey, you want to do that again? Yeah. So all three of the guys that you just mentioned are doing some of just the best work I've ever seen in this type of role.
Yeah.
Miguel Ferrer, for me, deserves special recognition.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Because holy shit, what a fucking performance this is.
He and fucking, I don't remember his name, Hans Booby from Die Hard.
Ellis.
Bob Morton is rivaled only by Ellis as like the definitive 80s coked out yuppie
Nightmare blunt
performance.
rotation. Two guys you do not want to party with. Yeah, no, Miguel Ferrer as Bob Morton is like, oh man, he is killing this.
His line deliveries are so well done and so natural. Like the way he delivers, like, it is my pleasure to present to you RoboCop.
Yeah.
It's not like this big dramatic line. It's very like cool and casual, and it is in being that.
Yeah.
In being so cool and casual, it becomes this big memorable moment.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. I like what he chooses to overplay and underplay in this movie.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
He's making like big choices. And yeah, he rocks so hard. But yeah, so like the Ed 209 is the product of like Dick Jones's team, right? And Miguel Ferrer is basically like, oh, the Ed 209 fucking sucks. It's not ready or whatever.
Yeah, Dick Jones's program is Ed 209. And the old man doesn't react to a guy being blasted apart in his office very well.
I love that he's just called the old man.
Yeah.
That is he never gets a name. You never learn what this guy's name is, what his official position at the company is. He's just the guy in charge, and his name's the old man.
Yeah, and his reaction is, Dick, I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, everybody is sort of chill about this guy getting blown away. Like, people are definitely screaming and stuff, but once the smoke clears and it's clear the robot's not going to kill anybody else, they all kind of just go back to business.
Yeah. And Bob Morton's like practically skipping on his way back to the elevator. It's like they're going with the RoboCop program because a guy just got fucking pasted in the office.
I was looking at the cast trying to figure out who this guy is who's like Bob Morton's like buddy at OCP. I wasn't able to find it on first glance, but like this guy also rocks. And I love the scene with him and Bob Morton in the elevator here, where he's like, oh, shame about whatever the guy's name was who got blown the fuck away, right? And Miguel Ferrer's like, hey, that's life in the big city or whatever he says. It rocks.
We should talk about RoboCop getting RoboCopped.
Yes. So
the RoboCopping, as you so elegantly put it.
The
earlier.
RoboCopping. Yeah, so like Lewis and Murphy go into this warehouse, and like Lewis gets knocked out by the guy who laughs a bunch. And then like Murphy gets cornered by the gang, and they shoot him with shotguns 5,000 times. First, Red Foreman blows his hand off.
Yeah, which is rad as hell.
And Kurtwood Smith delivers simultaneously one of the most funny and also upsetting villain lines in any action movie, which is like, someone lend this man a hand. After he fucking blows it off with a shotgun, and it is so violent, it's so graphic, the effect looks fucking incredible. And yeah, then they just
they shoot him a million times and he's still alive.
Which is insane. He is wearing body armor.
Yeah.
But like, it's crazy that he survives being shot with shotgun rounds 5,000 times.
And then they continue to shoot him to actually kill him.
Yes, and eventually Kurtwood Smith just puts a bullet in his head.
Yeah.
And you see it's shot from the back. And so Peter Weller is like in the foreground, and Kurtwood Smith is like in the background, and Peter Weller's, the back of his head is facing us. And Kurtwood Smith shoots him in the forehead, and the back of his head just fucking explodes out. Like, it's like, that dude is fucking dead.
Yeah, and Basil Pallador's score, like we said earlier, is really sad here.
Yeah.
And it makes the scene sad, as well as, it's violent and it's awesome and all those things. It's like, you really feel the emotions here.
Yeah.
And then when this transitions to him in the hospital and he's having memories of his wife and son.
The sequence is so good.
It's as they're trying to like save him and his eyes are just wide open. That's really good. I love the shot. It's like, this is almost like, I hate to use the word Lynchian. The shot of his wife and son waving to him on the driveway.
Yeah. And
the camera pulling away really quickly, as like it's basically them like waving goodbye to him as he dies.
Yeah.
It's so creepy and unsettling.
Yeah. I love all of the stuff where he's having memories of his family while he's dying. Like, oh, it's shot so well. It then leads into the sequence where he becomes RoboCop, and you're seeing it from his POV, and like, it's this part of the movie is maybe my favorite segment of a movie that I think is perfect, which is, by the way, a thing I meant to say. We talked about this on the Alien episode, where you asked me if Alien was a perfect movie. David, is RoboCop a perfect movie?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
And that's not like, again, I love this is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, a perfect movie, you really have to crack into like the upper echelon of my top 50 movie list or whatever. And this isn't quite there. But I think it is, watching this movie again, what is so surprising to me is how well crafted it is and how efficient it is with storytelling and visual metaphors and visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And this sequence where we see through RoboCop's eyes is one of those moments for me where you just see how good Verhoeven is at filmmaking and telling a story through this sequence.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a perfect movie, but there's not stuff that I could point to and say like, oh, this is why it's not perfect. I mean, maybe like the Dick Jones puppet falling off at the end, but like, I also love it. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. I think for me, a perfect movie is more of a feeling more than like something like
objective analysis.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think regardless of whether we're being subjective or objective about it, I think RoboCop's a perfect movie.
That's that's totally fair.
Yeah. I was just curious about your feelings on that. But yeah, so RoboCop dies, time of death 6:15. All the stuff when they're trying to save his life is really good. The way that they shoot the defibrillation, them giving him injections and stuff is very tense and unsettling. And the score is going crazy here. And then, he dies and then wakes up as a robot.
I like the part during this montage when they're debating what to do with him.
Yeah.
When they're like, can we just cut him up and turn him into RoboCop? And I think it's Bob Morton's, the other guy that Bob Morton's hanging out with.
Yeah, his like buddy at OCP.
Yeah. He's like, he signed the forms. He's legally dead. We can do whatever we want to him. And that is a really scary line.
That's when they're talking about, that's one of the most effective like cutting pieces of satire in this movie is that sequence
Mm-hmm.
that you're talking about, because it's right at the beginning of the RoboVision sequence, and they're talking about like, can he hear us? And Miguel Ferrer's like, don't worry, we're gonna wipe his memory anyway, right? And then Miguel Ferrer is telling them to, like, the technicians are like, we managed to save his arm, and Miguel Ferrer was like, that wasn't the plan. It was full biological replacement, right? And so he's like, lose the arm. And so like they were so proud. They're like, hey, we saved this guy's arm. He can retain use of his like flesh and blood arm. And Miguel Ferrer's like, no, he's gonna be a worse RoboCop if his arm is fucking flesh and blood. So like saw it off and replace it with titanium. And it's like so callous and so evil.
Do you want a RoboCop that's a little human, or do you want a full RoboCop? The name of the movie's RoboCop.
I feel like the person who is advocating for the human arm is the lady who sort of wants to fuck RoboCop. And so she's like, well, I figure one human arm is probably gonna unlock some more possibilities than 2 titanium arms.
No, she's
yes, I want that titanium hand on my throat, but I want the flesh hand.
No, she's building
on my clip.
she's building the robot arm so she can get finger blasted into the next galaxy.
But yeah, like that whole.
Imagine RoboCop giving you the shocker.
Does RoboCop have a dick? I think no.
I think no.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. He does eat baby food, so presumably he shits.
They never go into that.
They don't. They say his digestive system is extremely simple, and that his organic parts are sustained by a rudimentary paste that tastes like baby food.
Were you planning to do a would we eat this for the baby food?
About the rudimentary paste? Yeah, I was.
You could just do that now.
Okay. Well, I guess welcome to another installment of Would We Eat This?
Did you eat the baby paste?
The RoboCop baby food paste?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I related very heavily to Bob Morton's OCP buddy, who like gets a cup of this RoboCop chow and sticks his finger in it, licks it, and is like, oh, hey, it tastes like baby food. And Miguel Ferrer, like disgusted, is like, knock yourself out. And he goes back into this thing like 4 times. The camera just holds on him, and he's like, oh, that was pretty good. Let me go in there for a little bit more. You know what? I haven't had a snack today. Let me get a little bit more of this RoboCop paste. And I'm pretty sure as soon as the camera cuts away, he's just chugging that whole cup of Robo paste. That would be me, absolutely. Would you eat the RoboCop paste?
Yes. And I would be chugging it just like you. This has been another episode of Would We Eat This?
Yeah. The way that he is revealed, the way that the character of RoboCop and the design of RoboCop is revealed in this movie is it's one of the best character introductions in movie history, I think, because you see everything from his POV in the New Year's Eve party and everything. And then when he finally gets up, when he's finally activated, right? Miguel Ferrer is like, everybody's applauding, and Miguel Ferrer is like, that's for you, that's for you. And he walks past a monitor, and you just get a glimpse of his head from the side, right? But it's still his POV. And then everything that you see from there until the full reveal is like behind frosted glass or just his back. It's like they build up to it so much, and like the music's going crazy. Mm-hmm. It is such a fucking good reveal. Like, they unveil the design of the character so slowly, and like they make you wait for it and like tease you a bunch, and it's just it fucking rocks so hard. And the RoboCop design looks incredible.
Yeah. It's great. It's iconic at this point.
Yeah, and it's Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin designed RoboCop. Also, we didn't mention it, but in the Ed 209 sequences, Phil Tippett.
Yeah, it's Phil Tippett stop motion, and then they have the full size model that doesn't move or anything, which also looks great.
Yeah.
It's Phil Tippett doing the stop motion.
Phil Tippett did the stop motion. Yeah. But anyway, so they bring RoboCop into the police precinct, and I love the scene because he like joins the police force, right? I love the scene at the gun range when all the cops are just like gathered around him, watching him fucking blow the targets
I
away
feel
and
like
shit.
the gun range is really, for me, the big reveal scene. We
Yeah.
build up to it with the RoboCop vision and then behind the frosted glass thing, but like seeing RoboCop in the flesh, it's funny because he's a robot.
He does have a face.
He does have a face.
They retained his face and stretched it over a robotic skull horrifically.
The seeing RoboCop's like full capabilities, I think, is really showcased in the gun range scene.
Yeah.
Because everyone's shooting. I love, you see all the other cops shooting at the gun range, and then you just see RoboCop's gun firing and bursts fire, and blasting apart these targets with really, really precision
Cool
accuracy.
Ass gun, by the way.
Yeah, great gun. One of the best movie guns.
Yeah.
And then all the cops gather around him, and they watch him shoot, and then he spins the gun and puts it in his like leg holster that pops out, which is a great effect.
Yes, and immediately Lewis is like, "Hey, that's Alex Murphy." like no question in her mind, which I love. Like I love that she puts it together. It's not this big thing that she has to like figure out. She just sees him do the gun thing and is like, "No, yeah, that's that guy." That's that guy who got blown away by a shotgun blasts. So they send out RoboCop and we have like the crime montage, which is fucking incredible.
The grocery store robbery or the convenience store robbery, where the guy yells "fuck me."
Yeah, which we talked about. Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
I like that the convenience store owners are hiding the safe under a bunch of cans of Miller Lite,
and the guy's like, "Open this fucking safe," and he's like, "We don't have a safe," and he just knocks all these cans away and is like, "What now, dickhead?" It's fucking great.
I love the city hall sequence is one of my favorite things in this movie because I love this performance. He's like a city councilman who didn't win re-election, so he took everyone in City Hall hostage,
including the mayor. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And I love him.
I want some good coffee, and I want a recount, and no matter the results of the recount, I want my old job back, and I want a bigger office, and I want a new car.
Something with really bad gas mileage. Something big with really bad gas mileage. Yeah. And then they offer him the 6000 SUX, and he's like, "Does it ever need cruise control? Did it come with cruise control?" And then the guy responds and says some shit. He says yes to the cruise control, and he adds something else. And I fucking love. Don't you jerk me off!
And then he threatens to shoot the mayor.
Yes. You know what happens when people jerk me off? I kill them!
That's
so many great lines in this movie.
That's me showing up to the Academy to demand that they give Lily Gladstone Best Supporting Actress and retroactively give Mad Max Fury Road Best Picture in 2015.
Don't you jerk me off! Yeah, and then RoboCop uses heat vision to like grab him through the wall here, which fucking rules. The heat vision looks super cool. Also in this crime montage. Oh, by the way, he throws this guy out a window.
Yeah,
or punches him out a window, which rocks.
Yeah, we're throwing a lot of dudes in this movie.
Yeah.
The other similarity between this and Stone Cold is this is the second movie for our TGMEM-iversary that blows up an entire gas station.
Yes.
When Emil shows up and starts fucking harassing this
guy who's just practicing.
He's just doing his homework.
He's doing geometry homework. Yeah. And Emil's like, "Oh, what's that book, fucking nerd? Oh, college boy. Put $20 on pump 6, loser," or whatever the hell. Yeah. And so RoboCop shows up because this gas station's being robbed. And Emil, I love that RoboCop says the same thing to Emil that he said before.
"Dead or alive, you're coming with me."
Yes. And Emil, again, just like Lewis, is like, "Hey, you're the fucking guy we killed." And the fucking gas leaks everywhere. Fucking Emil tosses a cigarette into it and tries to blow RoboCop.
We blow up the gas station as he rides away on the motorcycle.
It rocks.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
But this is what triggers RoboCop to start investigating his past.
Yeah.
Because this triggers something in him.
There is another thing in this crime montage that we need to talk about that we skipped over.
Him shooting the rapist in the dick.
"Ma'am, you have you have experienced a traumatic event." I will contact a rape crisis center. The scene with the rapists, first of all, it thankfully doesn't get very far. Good job, Paul Verhoeven, for not allowing this to get too far.
Yes, thanks for showing some restraint.
Some
Paul.
restraint, yes. But yeah, these two rapists that are like the rapists in previous episode Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi, where they are just like barking like dogs at this woman. Just like those dudes in Spider-Man. Just being horrible and disgusting, and then RoboCop pulls up on him. And I love that they only have a knife. They don't have a gun or anything. And so the guy is basically just like, I'll fucking kill this lady, and the other guy's just standing there like, the fuck am I supposed to do? There's a fucking Terminator here. And then yeah, RoboCop shoots the guy in the dick. The lady comes up to him, and this is again one of my favorite like moments of satire in this movie, because she comes up to him and is looking for like a human response from him, right? She's like trying to give him a hug and is like, "Thank you, you saved my life," and he just like so coldly is just like spits out this canned pre-programmed response about the rape crisis center and walks away, and she just looks like confused and devastated, like she wanted him to like comfort her.
Yeah.
And instead he's just like, I did my job, goodbye. And I think there's a lot that you could like talk about in this movie in terms of like, because it's satirizing American culture and capitalism and consumerism. I think it's also, to a lesser extent than Starship Troopers, but it's still there, also kind of talking about the fascist tendencies of America and how like being a police officer kind of strips you of your humanity.
Yeah.
Right? In enforcing laws that are put in place by unjust authorities, right? Being the arm of unjust laws, right? Sort of takes your soul away. And I think that that's kind of what this scene's about a little bit.
I think so too. And I think that maybe slightly conflicts with, I think, Verhoeven's intent to kind of make this a superhero movie and also a bit of a Jesus metaphor.
Right.
Which leads me to my next question. Does All Cops Are Bastards include RoboCop?
I think it must, unfortunately. I mean, he does have, his prime directives are uphold the law, right? Protect the innocent. And what's the other one? There's 3. And then there's Objective 4, which is classified.
I can't remember the other one.
Yeah. But it's like, if he's truly abiding by protect the innocent at all times, then I think that he's a better cop than any non-cyborg cop.
I think
who doesn't have that hard coded into their brain.
I think he's probably him rediscovering his past and his humanity. He probably fits into ACAB.
Yeah.
Because one of the news segments where he's at the school, and they're like, "Do you have any message for the kids?" And he's like, "Stay out of trouble." There is that like just cold, remorseless edge to his character.
Yeah.
But I think once he discovers his humanity, it's a little bit. And I mean, like, he does have Clarence Boddicker, after throwing Clarence Boddicker through 3 or 4 glass windows while reading him his rights, the directive does come up, uphold the law, which is basically like, hey, you can't fucking strangle this guy.
You're not allowed to murder this man in cold blood, yeah.
So that is something that most cops these days don't practice.
Yeah.
Hey! Defund the police. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So RoboCop investigates his past. He uses his data spike middle finger
funny joke
to fuck the computer and make it tell him who the guy from Boddicker's gang is. And who all his connections are. And he finds out that he himself is Murphy. Right, because they wiped his memory, so he doesn't. He's not supposed to remember any of that. Yeah. But he finds a picture of himself in the computer, and it like brings it all back. As this is happening, Dick Jones takes a big shit. So because the RoboCop program has been successful, Bob Morton has been promoted. And so he goes into the door is labeled Executive Lounge, which is so fucking funny because it's just a bathroom.
That's what I was going to ask you, if that was supposed to be a joke.
I think so.
Because they have key cards to get in.
Yeah, it's a key card to the executive lounge, which I think is just a nicer bathroom. But yeah, so him and his this guy he's talking to, it's not his main OCP buddy, it's some other guy that he's talking to. Like, they scan into the executive lounge and they're talking while taking a piss, and Miguel Ferrer is just like talking mad shit about Dick Jones. He's like, that guy's a fucking pussy. Like, and there's like the low angle shot where it's just Dick Jones's feet with his pants behind his ankle, or below his ankles. And yeah, it's just,
well, and Dick Jones slowly gets out of the stall. and I mean, everyone runs away from him like he's a Terminator.
The guy who Bob Morton was talking to isn't done pissing,
and he pisses his pants
and zips up his pants, and it just fully pisses his pants because he's so scared of Dick Jones. It's so fucking funny. This scene is one of my favorite scenes in the movie as well.
Well, and I kind of get it after Dick Jones starts intimidating Bob Morton without washing his hands, and then runs his shit-covered hands through Bob Morton's hair and like grabs him by the hair and threatens him.
You know the hand that's in his hair was the wiping hand. 1000%. Yeah, it rocks so hard.
I don't think the executive lounge comes with bidets.
Yeah. Dick Jones like dresses him down and is basically like, you know, I used to call the old man all kinds of names back in my day, but there was this thing called respect, and you've crossed the line. And Bob Morton is basically like, well, you know, I'm the new kid on the block. You're old news, old man. Is kind of the thing in this scene, but the performances of Ronny Cox and Miguel Ferrer in this scene, it's like some of the best work from either of them in the entire movie. Like, this bathroom scene fucking whips.
Yeah.
What could be sort of the B plot of this movie is like so riveting just because the two of them fucking nail this so hard. Also, it seems like they're gonna kiss at multiple points. And yeah, then we check back in with RoboCop, right? Or,
yeah, RoboCop is exploring his
back and
past.
forth. Yeah.
He goes to his home. We already talked about this scene where he's seeing memories
It's
of his wife and kids.
Really sad.
Uh-huh.
I did not cry watching RoboCop. I almost cried during this scene when he's seeing the flashbacks of his family.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad, and the score really hits you.
There are points where the score gets like angrier, and you can tell that RoboCop is getting angry.
Yep.
With the performance and also just the score informing you of his emotions. I like the very short scene where RoboCop goes to the cyberpunk club. It's basically the fucking tech noir from Terminator.
The only non-original score piece of music in the whole movie is this song that's playing at the club. At least it's the only one that they mention in the credits. And the name of this techno song that's playing is Show Me Your Spine. By, I think the band is called like PTP or something. And fucking really good techno dance tune. I was really fucking with this song.
I've never noticed that. I'll have to look that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's the only non-original score music in the movie. But yeah.
But he runs into Ray Wise, who tries to kick him in the nuts, and so I don't think he has a dick.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also he's titanium. But like maybe his dick is in like a compartment, like his holster. It's just like
I'm sure a Rule 34 artist has had that same idea.
Actually, he almost definitely has some kind of robo dick in a secret hidden compartment that only that lady with the glasses can access. She
has the code.
Secret password. Yeah. There's like a hidden punch pad somewhere on him where it's just like, all right, 4, 5, 7, 8, and his robot cock and balls just drop out.
Did you the reason I wanted to talk about this scene, did you see the shot of Paul Verhoeven freaking out at the camera?
No.
There are 2 Paul Verhoeven cameos in this movie.
Okay.
There's one in the 6000 SUX commercial where he points at the dinosaur. And he has long hair and glasses.
Yeah.
There's a shot in this club scene where they're cutting to like different people on the dance floor, and one is Paul Verhoeven just like losing his fucking mind in front of the camera for half a frame. It is rad.
That's cool as hell. I like when a director cameo is like like fun like that, you know? Yeah. So Ray Wise gets his shit rocked by RoboCop.
Mm-hmm.
I love RoboCop grabbing him by the hair and dragging him out of the club. Kicks ass. Yeah, he's like slowly one by one going after the members of Bodeker's gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next big scene here is Bob Morton doing coke with
With
his two girlfriends.
Yes. This scene fucking rules because it's like it opens with Miguel Ferrer just being an absolute dog with these two women, being like, you know what I admire about you is your brain, sweetheart. I love an intelligent woman. Let me sniff some of that blow off your friend's tits over here. He's just like being a fucking maniac and again crushing it.
Yeah.
And and then Kurtwood Smith comes in and delivers maybe the best ad-libbed line of dialogue in any movie of all time.
It
Because
makes me laugh every time.
he ad-libbed this
Okay.
famously, I
Okay.
think. He comes in and just goes, bitches leave. It rocks so hard. And they're immediately like, okay, bye, Bobby. We'll see you later. And yeah, so Bodeker shoots Bob Morton in the legs a bunch. I love
Yeah.
Miguel Ferrer because he's all coked up, right?
Mhm.
And surprised, like taken by surprise. He gets shot in the leg once and like screams a bunch. But then Bodeker shoots him like 6 more times in the legs. And the way that Miguel Ferrer delivers "stop" is so good too. 'Cause,
frustrated.
yeah, it just sounds like he's just annoyed by how many times he's been shot in the legs. And then yeah, this is where Bodeker puts in the little tape from Dick Jones.
Mhm.
It basically like reveals that Dick Jones like hired him to kill Bob Morton.
Yeah. I like the way he leans against the TV and casually unwraps a piece of gum and pops it in his mouth while Bob Morton's just bleeding out on the floor and he's now paralyzed.
Yeah. Couple good moments of gum humor in this movie. This is one.
Yeah.
There's another one with Bodeker later.
What the fuck, man?
There's one that we also passed.
Oh, okay.
With Lewis, there's a good gum moment with Lewis because she's
Oh.
snapping and popping gum when her and Murphy go out for their first call.
Yeah, the dick
And-
joke.
Yes, and so there's a moment where when they go into the warehouse after the gang, one of the members of the gang is just taking a big old piss. We see a piss stream, which listeners to this show know David and I love to see in a movie. But yeah, he's pissing and she snaps her gum to alert him that she's there, and he turns around and she's like, freeze, like put your hands up or whatever, and he's like, all right, mind if I zip this up first? And then he just waits for her to look at his dick so that he can get the upper hand.
It's
on her.
really well timed. It gives you enough time to think about, like, are they going to do the joke? Is
Yeah.
she going to look down at it? And it's just as you start thinking that.
Yeah.
She does it, and then he knocks the gun
And
out of her hand.
he's so confident. He's absolutely sure that this woman is going to look at his dick. he's like, I'm waiting. You're not going to be able to resist looking at my dick forever.
No, the part when Kurtwood Smith puts the gum on the secretary's little name tag.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That might be the most psychotic thing he does in this movie.
This is like nuclear grade sexual harassment that he's doing with the secretary. Because he's like, you can keep the gum. And then as he's going into Dick Jones' office, he's like sticking his head out the door going at her. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like, I'm sorry. I think you need to be killed. Not for any of your other crimes, only for this. And the secretary is just kind of rolling her eyes about it.
I feel
Like,
like this
this
is not
guy.
the first time she's dealt with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just every time Kurtwood Smith shows up to the office.
I like that
Something
he has to
new.
read her name off her nameplate on her desk too, because she knows who he is. And he's probably been here before, but he's like, oh yeah, what's your name again? Oh yeah, Barbara. Yeah. But yeah. So the Dick Jones message plays, and then Kurtwood Smith tongues this pin out of this grenade, which is just one of my favorite visuals that we get from one of my favorite action movie villains.
Yeah.
It's just his tongue coming out and grabbing this little grenade pin, and then he like puts it in his teeth. It is unnecessarily obscene.
I like the future grenade.
Yeah.
And it has a little timer on it.
Yeah.
So you can read it, and Bob Morton crawls over to it and sees that he's got 5 seconds or whatever, then it blows up.
Yep.
That's fun.
And we get our second huge explosion in this movie. Because the gas station is a massive explosion, and this one is also just a colossal explosion.
We're blowing the windows out of a house.
It
Out of
rocks.
a house. That's pretty rad. The next thing here is the drug factory scene. The drug warehouse. Where he's having he's doing a deal with this other guy. Why the fuck does he stick his fingers in this guy's wine glass and then snorts the wine?
Fantastic question. Also, why, other than he's an Italian stereotype, is this guy walking around his drug factory drinking a huge glass of red wine? I also like that Bodeker's gang all have kind of like normal, regular body types. Like none of them is like a huge muscled man.
Yeah.
Like Ray Wise is kind of tall, but he's not like stacked, right? These 3 Italian like mafia dudes running this drug factory are like all bodybuilders. They are all enormous.
They have great faces. Some of the bodyguards with this mafia guy.
Yeah.
They're just great guys with faces that they just probably pulled off the street somewhere.
Yeah, and
Just
they have like
regular looking dudes.
no lines. Yeah, but I have no clue why Bodeker does the fingers in the wine and then like snorts the wine thing. Other than it is unhinged and insane.
Yeah, and they all start pulling guns on each other, and the thing that
the
thing that de-escalates the situation is like Bodeker's like, "Come on, man, the Tigers are playing tonight. I never miss a game." And it seems like that works. He's like the mafia guy is like, "Oh, you're right. There is a fucking game tonight. All right, we won't all kill each other now."
I want to see how the Tigers do this season. Yeah. I also love that the thing that spurs the mafia guy to have his bodyguards take out their guns and blow Bodeker and his gang away in the first place is that Bodeker uses a slur for Italian people. That's the thing that sends him over the edge. Not any of the other like threats and like not even the wine thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is basically just him using that W word. As an Italian American, were you offended?
No. Will we get canceled if we use the W word?
I think we're allowed to say WAP.
Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely allowed to
I'm
say
absolutely allowed to say WAP.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say WAP.
I feel like I've given you a WAP pass before.
You have given me a WAP pass, but I think you've also revoked my WAP pass.
I also
before.
don't think anyone's been offended by the word WAP since like 1905 getting off of Ellis Island.
Mostly me calling it the W word was a joke. I thought it would be funny to refer to WAP as the W word. But yeah, that's the thing that sends him over the edge is like, nobody calls me a fucking WAP. Maroon!
And then RoboCop shows up and blows everyone away, and it's rad.
Oh, this sequence rocks so hard.
He
shoots so many dudes here, and you see it every time, and there are 1 million squibs.
We're throwing tons of guys off catwalks in
it
this
rocks
thing.
So hard.
I feel like this movie is the reason why every low-budget science fiction action movie is set exclusively in warehouses, steel mills, and piles of rubble.
Yeah, probably. And you know what? In this movie, it really works.
Yeah.
Because Paul Verhoeven knows how to make those locations dynamic and interesting and to differentiate them from each other. The cocaine warehouse doesn't look the same as the other abandoned warehouse where he gets blown to pieces. They're distinct looking warehouses, right? I think the problem that action movies have that copy the RoboCop aesthetic is that it all kind of just looks like gray and brown nothing.
Yeah, or we're going to pretend that this warehouse is actually a spaceship.
Right.
Or we're going to fill the warehouse with cardboard boxes that aren't actually filled with anything.
Yeah.
But we just need something to dress the scene with.
Yeah. But in this movie, like, the locations are dystopian and decrepit. And a lot of them are kind of visually similar, but like distinct enough that like you always know where you are.
Yeah. I love the setting of the movie. Like, it is in the future, but there are locations here that look real and look like they are set, in in modern times. It feels near future.
Yeah.
I love the police cars too. I love that the police cars are just cars from the 80s with a paint job on them to make them look slightly futuristic.
And I like that, like, all the cars that the cops are driving, really all the cars you see in this movie sort of look like they're old, shitty cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looks like just getting a new car is a thing that this police department hasn't done in a while, you know? But yeah, he kills 1,000 dudes here, and it's great.
And then he throws Kurtwood Smith through a bunch of windows.
Yes, and reads him his rights. I used air quotes because really it's an intimidation tactic. He doesn't actually give a shit if this guy gets an attorney.
And Boddicker rats out Dick Jones.
Yes, yeah. Immediately, which, like, fair. If RoboCop was throwing me through windows, I would tell him whatever the fuck I had to tell him. I'd be like, I will tell you my life story beginning to end. Please stop throwing me through windows.
That's why I like Kurtwood Smith's performance so much, is
Yeah.
because he can play all different sides of this character so well. You know, before this in the movie, he's so sadistic and intimidating and funny. And then as soon as he runs into RoboCop, he becomes this, like, pathetic little worm that
He's
you
like,
just want to see get squashed.
Come on, man. We can talk about this. Yeah. Yeah, I think he does at multiple points in this movie say, wait a minute to RoboCop, which I fucking love him just yelping wait a minute at this, like, cyborg titan. It's great. So yeah, RoboCop arrests Boddicker here because he doesn't kill him because of the thing that you referenced earlier where he has to uphold the law.
Yeah.
And he can't strangle him to death with his titanium hand.
So he goes to confront Dick Jones and tries to arrest Dick Jones, and then we discover Directive 4 means he can't arrest anyone who
An
is
officer
an
of
employee of OCP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the Ed 209 fight.
Yes.
And this is really great, really fun stuff. I think, you know, the stop motion and the model, it's not seamless, but it's all really well done and just, like, classy filmmaking.
This is also a thing that this is, like, a broader point about this movie for me. The movie, because it is a satire, I think can get away with, and I don't think it's getting away with it accidentally. I think this is intentional on Verhoeven's part. It can get away with being a little visually cheesy at times with the stop motion and also with RoboCop, because RoboCop's design is really cool and it looks really good and very, like, seamless and realistic, but also there's something a little campy about it. Like, the way he looks is a little like pulp sci-fi.
Yeah.
Kinda.
He looks like an action figure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think with the Ed 209 stop motion stuff, and even when Dick Jones falls out of the tower later, I think moments that look visually kind of cheesy or campy in this movie, rather than being to its detriment and, like, working against it in any way, actually sort of enhance it for me, because this movie's a satire anyway. And so the stuff that doesn't look perfect just kind of feels like it is the lens Verhoeven is applying to the themes that he's communicating of that kind of, like, pulp sci-fi superhero comic action movie thing, right?
Yeah. And, you know, Ed 209 is pitched as this, like, you know, efficient, you know, new police officer robot. And then when we actually see it in action after it, you know, blows that guy apart, it's like, it's got this herky-jerky movement,
Yeah.
and it fires rockets down this hallway, and then it trips over stairs.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's like, you know, those stories of self-driving Teslas, and they're being pitched as this, like, efficient thing that takes out the human element, and then all the stories we hear about them plowing over pedestrians and killing them.
Or being like, I'm literally unable to make a left-hand turn.
Yeah.
Like, my sensors won't allow me to think it's safe enough to turn left ever. Yeah. Yes. The Ed 209 tripping on the stairs is fucking fantastic. I love that it screams.
Yeah, it does line noises, and then it's like, and it's like twitching. I love that.
I also love its feet.
Yeah.
The stop motion is maybe the best on its feet. They look really, really good. And the design is really cool too. Did you ever play like any of the MechWarrior games?
No.
Ed 209, I feel like, was probably an influence on some of the MechWarrior stuff. Because a lot of the robots or the machines, the mechs in those games kind of feel like they have direct design influence from this. But yeah, I love it falling down and squealing like a little baby. It's very funny. And then after barely surviving his fight with Ed 209, RoboCop gets shot 80,000 more times
By the police.
by the police.
And I think this is another sad scene, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
all of these cops just unloading their guns into RoboCop,
Yeah.
and it seems like he's like genuinely betrayed, and he doesn't know how to process this.
Yeah, and also you're watching him about to be executed by OCP, by another OCP funded
Yeah.
right entity. Before it was the criminals, now it's the police, but OCP is basically about to kill this guy twice, which sucks. And again, the real villain of the movie is OCP, and they never get their comeuppance, which is like the thing that rocks about this. But yeah, the cops fucking try and blow him away. He ends up rolling from level to level of the parking garage, which is great. And then Lewis pulls up in the car and rescues him, like puts him in the backseat and drives away. And then there's like some really nice stuff with Lewis and RoboCop, right? Like she takes him to this like abandoned warehouse. And again, another abandoned warehouse that looks visually distinct from all the other abandoned warehouses. I
think it's the same steel mill. I think it's where he was shot.
Yeah.
I think we reused the steel mill for the execution at the beginning of the movie, and then this final
that would make sense.
Final fight here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all the stuff with her repairing him.
Yeah.
The effects of his face, and we see like the robotic part of his head.
Yeah.
And his neck. It's all really, really well done stuff, and there are even some shots that I think might be a dummy, like from the back, but it's also seamless that I really can't tell.
Yeah. Him taking the mask off, the visor off, and revealing his like ghoulish appearance.
Yeah.
Really affects me when I'm watching this movie, and this most recent watch it affected me, I think, even more, because it's like the movie goes out of its way to make, and Rob Bottin as the designer on this is a huge part of this. They go out of their way to make him like unsettling and unpleasant to look at, like, and they do so many close-ups of him, and it's like, this is where Paul Verhoeven is making it clear to the audience. It should at least be clear to anyone with a functioning brain, right? That it's like, yes, this is a movie about a superhero and an action figure. And also, it is a movie about like a man who has lost his humanity and his soul,
and
right? And he was stolen from him.
And
right?
I think removing his mask gives Peter Weller an opportunity to act with the rest of his face.
Yes. It's a great decision for so many reasons.
Yeah, because they're talking about his family at this point, and Lewis is like, they moved away after you died. One of the lines that really affected me is when RoboCop says, "I can feel them, but I can't remember them."
Yeah.
And Peter Weller does such a good job showing that sadness in his face while also playing the robot and playing it, pretty. He's doing so much with so little. And to just like comment on the rest of his performance with all of his robotic movements in that giant, heavy, really cumbersome suit that they had a lot of trouble putting together.
Yeah.
He does great work with that. He does great acting with the lower half of his face. And other things that he does, like the spinning of the gun, or in the drug shootout, the way he like shoots the gun almost like a cowboy, where he has his left hand out and he's shooting from the hip. Just looks great.
He's also doing a bunch of that shit in the cocaine warehouse sequence. He's doing a lot of that like gunslinger physical stuff, right? His physical performance, I agree, is so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're seeing RoboCop's physical performance, it's Peter Weller, and sometimes it's actually like a team of folks who were using like a puppet stuff in some shots, and in some shots it's somebody else in the suit who was playing him when his face was obscured or from the back or whatever. And you can't ever tell that it's a different person in the suit or like a puppet at any point in the movie. Like, it always just seems like the same character, which is incredible. It's incredible that not only is Peter Weller's physical performance this good, but that everything else in the movie matches it so seamlessly that you can't tell when it's him and when it's not.
Yeah. This is one of the things that carries over to RoboCop 2 is just the depiction of RoboCop and the performance of Peter Weller. And they do some insane puppetry in that movie when RoboCop is blown apart and we see his torso and his head and nothing else. And because you can't have Peter Weller do that, they made a puppet that looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to see RoboCop 3. Everyone says it's shitty, but I just want to like complete the trilogy, you know?
Yeah.
But one of the things that's prevented me from seeing that is they recast the character. And I'm like, I don't see how you do RoboCop without Peter Weller.
He's such a huge part of this movie and this character.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those performances where it's like, you know, you wouldn't make an Indiana Jones movie without Harrison Ford. Like you can't make a fucking RoboCop movie without Peter Weller. He's like he is the guy.
He's come back to voice the character for video games and stuff. So like the other reason I want to see that is it's directed by Fred Dekker, who did Night of the Creeps, which we love.
Yes.
And Monster Squad. It's his third movie that he's done. It's only his last movie.
Yeah.
But I know there was a lot of studio tampering on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, great sequence with him and Lewis here. I like when he shoots the baby food jars that she brought him for target practice, and she helps him recalibrate his targeting system.
Mm-hmm.
That moment is very sweet and sort of erotic because she's like behind him, like gently guiding his arm and stuff.
Like she's giving him a reach around?
No. Not guiding his arm to jerk off his robot penis. No, she's like over his shoulder, holding his arm, helping him.
Yeah, like a reach around.
Yeah, well,
but in this case, the gun's the penis.
Yeah, the gun's the penis. Okay, yeah, yeah. Maybe it is like a reach around.
Okay.
I'm sure that's what Paul Verhoeven was thinking, and I say that unironically. The gun is his penis. she helps him figure out how to use his penis.
And he's also Jesus Christ. These can both exist in the same movie.
I, Paul Verhoeven, have thought about the penis of Jesus Christ more than any human being on this planet.
You can read about it in my book.
Yes. So then the gang shows back up to finish the job. Because Dick Jones, there's the scene with Boddicker where he sticks the gum to Barbara's plate and fucking flirts with her horrifically. Then he goes into Dick Jones's office and is basically like, yo, I quit. I got the shit beat out of me. And Dick Jones being like, okay, well then I guess I'll give all of the drug business in Delta City to somebody else. And he's like, oh, hold on.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like,
yeah,
it's like the cycle is just going to be perpetuated, and crime and violence is going to continue because of the corporation in Delta City. And I think that's so well done.
Right. And rather than them being than that being like an accidental consequence, it's like baked in.
Yeah, it's built
part of
into the structure of the system.
It's budgeted for. You know.
So they give him a bunch of high-powered sniper rifles that shoot explosions. And the other thing is the cops go on strike because OCP is taking over. And I think that like the strike actually happens. So now crime is just rampant through old Detroit.
Right.
And like I guess the prisons just like the guards at the prison stop showing up.
It's like The Dark Knight Rises.
So the gang that's been arrested has broken out of prison, I guess.
Yeah. So like all the criminals are just back on the streets. I sort of interpreted that differently with that, not just the prisons had emptied onto the streets.
Yeah.
But that Boddicker, by talking to his lawyers who work for Dick Jones, and OCP runs the cops, I had just assumed that Boddicker was able to negotiate all his dudes out of prison.
Oh, okay.
Right? And just be like, yeah, I want all of these guys released. Because RoboCop had brought them all in.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, they're all out anyway.
Yeah.
And he gives them all guns that shoot explosions.
and he blows up the other guy's car.
And just one of the most fun scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, this scene is not saying anything big. It's just kind of guys with huge guns making things explode for a few minutes.
Yeah, I love when the RoboCop movies indulge in the ridiculous anarchy of their
Yeah.
dystopian futures. They do it a ton in RoboCop 2, which is why I really like RoboCop 2.
Yeah, the way this scene starts, by the way, is just Emil sitting outside of an electronics store watching the TVs in the window, and then he can't hear the TV, so he smashes the window and turns the volume up. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't said it once during this episode, and I'm sure every other podcast that has covered this movie has already said it by the time they've gotten to this point.
Yeah,
so,
we're an hour 41 in, and that was our first I'd buy that for $1.
Well, that's another thing is like the media of this society is just this trite lowest common denominator sitcom.
Like sexist,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
yeah.
everyone laughs at it hysterically, even though there is one joke
Yes.
every time it shows up in
Which
this
is
movie.
this ugly old man getting laid by 2 women. I would purchase that for $1. Yeah, they all shoot a bunch of explosions. The one dude who pulls up with the 6000 SUX and is like, "Hey boss, I got the same car as you now."
Yeah.
And Boddicker just blowing his fucking car away is always very funny.
It's funny to me that it's called the 6000 SUX,
Yeah,
which means the 6000 sucks,
Yeah.
which I think is probably intentional too.
Yeah, of course. Oh, by this point, we've also already had the 6000 SUX commercial, which is honestly a pretty good commercial.
And that's our second Paul Verhoeven cameo.
Yeah, I love the dinosaur rampaging through the city, and then its eyes pop out in a cartoonish manner
Yeah.
when it sees the car, which is
Yeah.
even bigger than it.
Some fun Phil Tippett stop motion stuff.
It's very goofy and silly, and also it comes at the perfect moment because I'm pretty sure the 6000 Sucks commercial is like right after RoboCop has been blown away for the second time and escapes with Lewis.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to the 6000 Sucks commercial. It rocks.
One of the news segments that I want to mention, and then we can move on, because we haven't talked about them a ton, but like
They're sprinkled throughout.
they're sprinkled throughout the movie. The one that I really find effective is the mobile, the satellite weapons platform.
Oh yeah.
Just like fires a laser and kills 100 people.
Including 2 former US presidents who had retired to Santa Barbara, which is the funniest detail in the story.
Yeah.
2 former presidents got accidentally space lasered along with like 113 other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great because it's the Verhoeven genius satire thing where he just like puts this in at face value and immediately your brain goes to like all of the like class action settlements against like pharmaceutical companies and automobile manufacturers and like all these companies that are basically just like, yeah, we're selling you things to make your lives better and to make the world better, and sometimes it'll kill you by accident and we'll give you some money and move on.
Yeah, we're just all living under the threat of the government and corporations killing us at any time.
Yeah, just on purpose or by accident.
And nothing will come from it.
Yep.
No one will be sued.
There'll be a sad story on the news and then everybody will move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all delivered by these smiley and chipper news anchors.
Yeah, I really like the news anchor performances too.
Mhm. So now we have the fight at the steel mill, and there's a lot we could talk about here. A lot of great kills, including the best kill that's maybe been in any movie that doesn't include the words "tears and rain," which is Emil turning into Melting Man.
Yeah, so like the first guy to go is the guy whose name I don't remember, whose car Boddicker blows up.
Mhm.
And he just kind of gets shot, I think.
Yeah.
But gets shot a bunch. But then yes, Emil
Emil drives this van.
He's driving the van,
He
yeah.
crashes into a vat of toxic waste.
Which we know is toxic waste because it is labeled toxic waste in huge letters, which rocks.
I feel like I was a lot more scared of toxic waste when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like toxic waste was a legit threat to children everywhere.
Growing up in the 90s, we were real scared of quicksand.
Yeah.
We were scared of
Quicksand
lava
and toxic waste.
and toxic waste. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly, have never encountered those in my adult life.
Yet. There's still time for toxic waste. If we don't have climate action, that toxic waste fear might circle back around. He drives into a vat of toxic waste. And just the effects here are flawless. Special makeup effects by Rob Bottin, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He looks fucking disgusting.
He looks horrifying.
It's so good.
He comes around a corner and scares Ray Wise, and Ray Wise goes, "Don't fucking touch me, man! Help me!"
It's so good.
And then Clarence Boddicker is
he's not looking where he's going while he's driving because he's turned around to look at Lewis, who's like, following
chasing him.
And then he looks up through the windshield, and the melting man has fucking wandered in front of his car, and he just plows into him at full speed, and this dude's body fucking pops like a water balloon.
He liquefies. There's like a flood of blood washes over the windshield, and his skull. I love his when they fucking run into this dummy. The skull pops off and rolls across the front of the car and flies off the windshield.
It fucking rocks so hard. It is like one of the best deaths in any action movie. And I love that Clarence Boddicker's reaction, like the button on this for me, is Clarence Boddicker's reaction to seeing one of the dudes from his crew reduced to a melting mutant man and then plowing into him and getting washed in his guts is shit. He just seems seems barely perturbed by it. It rocks. Also in this scene where Boddicker is being chased by Lewis in the police cars, there's a point at which one like a hubcap or something pops off and just rolls like within, it seems like, inches of the camera, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Just some really cool vehicle chase.
And the
cinematography here.
The car crash in the rubble pile lake thing.
Yeah.
The car crash is great.
It's so good.
And RoboCop walks on water, so he is Jesus.
Yes.
I love Boddicker shoots Lewis
a bunch. Anytime someone gets shot in this movie,
it is not once.
They never get shot once.
Multiple times.
Everyone who gets shot at least 6 times. RoboCop has a gun that cannot shoot less than 3 bullets at once. For this very reason, because everyone must be shot multiple times.
Ray Wise is in this crane, and he drops a bunch of shit on RoboCop. And I love Ray Wise poking out the window and going, "I got him, Clarence! I got him!" And Clarence Boddicker looks at him as he blows up because Nancy Allen crawled over to one of the rifles that shoots explosions and blows up Ray Wise in front of Clarence Boddicker. And for a man who is doesn't have a lot of regard for the lives of his gang, Clarence Boddicker looks genuinely heartbroken by watching Ray Wise explode in front of him.
I'm pretty sure Leon, Ray Wise's character, was the only one he actually gave a shit about. He was like, "Oh no, that's my boy." Those other fuckers I was just paying, but that's my guy. It's my homie.
He's like a guy in Saving Private Ryan reacting to his best friend getting shot by a German sniper.
I fucking love that moment so much. I also love that Ray Wise, before he goes up to the crane to like dump a bunch of shit on RoboCop, he has the gun that shoots explosions, and he has a clear line of sight to RoboCop, and instead of shooting him with the gun, he's like, "Nah, this will be way funnier if I just drop a bunch of shit on him." And he is rewarded for wanting to kill RoboCop in a funnier way by being blown sky high by Nancy Allen. It fucking whips.
And then,
it's so good.
Yeah, then RoboCop stabs Clarence Boddicker in the throat with his middle finger spike, and it's rad.
The stab is so good. So so Boddicker picks up this rebar and it impales RoboCop in the chest.
Yeah.
And then the data spike goes into his throat.
The jets of blood shooting out.
Yes. The thing that rocks the hardest to me in this kill is he puts the data spike in fucking Boddicker's neck, and when he pulls it out, so much blood just with this noise, just so much blood hits RoboCop. There was so much pressure built up in this dude's neck that it's a gallon of blood immediately shoots out. It's so fucking good. And then there's the jet, a Monty Python-esque jet of blood that's just like out of his neck.
Such a flesh wound.
I've had worse. And then he's fucking dead.
He's dead.
And then we get the little coda here, which is RoboCop pulling up to OCP. He uses one of the big guns to blow the shit out of another Ed 209.
Mm-hmm.
The stop motion of this Ed 209's legs wobbling and then falling over is
it's fun.
primo. Yeah. There's another board meeting.
And it's the end of the movie. He shows up and presents evidence that Dick Jones is behind it all. The Desert Eagle that Dick Jones gave to the guy that got blown away in the boardroom earlier. It's still in the boardroom? They just left the silver-plated Desert Eagle that comes in its own like nice custom case. They just left it in the boardroom.
It's the boardroom 45. You gotta have a 45 in the boardroom.
So Dick Jones grabs the old man and threatens to shoot him, and we get a great classic line delivery from Dan O'Herlihy, who we haven't talked about much in this movie, but he is great.
He's so good.
We'll talk about him more when we do Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. But
the Festival of Samhain.
But the Dick, you're fired! And then it's so funny. The Directive 4 pops up, and then it goes away after he's fired, and RoboCop just goes, "Thank you." And blows him out the window.
Yep.
And the model looks silly. Its arms are too long.
Yeah.
It is maybe the one thing in this movie that doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
It's
and I don't think
it's the campiness.
Yeah,
that I was
it's
talking
fun.
about before, where it kind of fits the movie anyway.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't look great.
Yeah. And then
good shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
Yep.
And then the other fun thing about this scene is Bob Morton's friend that we don't know his name does the big thumbs up.
Yeah, well, and before the thumbs up, so Bob Morton's buddy is in the boardroom, and he sees that Dick Jones is about to be shot. So like there's the "you're fired," right, and the "thank you," and he like goes to shoot him, and we get like a cutaway edit to just this guy who is barely a character in this movie. He's had like a few interactions with Miguel Ferrer, and he like, as if he is me watching the movie, stands up and starts smiling super big when he sees what's about to happen. He's like, "Oh shit, Dick Jones is about to get blown away.
I'm about to get a promotion."
It's so funny. I love his reaction to like seeing that RoboCop is about to kill Dick Jones. He's like, "Oh fuck yeah, here we go."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he does the thumbs up.
Thumbs up, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
And then end of the movie,
RoboCop.
Murphy, he's reclaimed his humanity.
Yes. And that's the happy part of this ending. And the not happy part of this ending is basically like, well, he still can't kill any of those other OCP guys, and they're just going to continue doing bad shit. And yeah, like all three of the movies that we've talked about from Verhoeven, the ending's a mixed bag. And that's what makes his movies good.
Also, the shitload of squibs makes his movies good.
That's true.
That's RoboCop.
That is RoboCop. What if a cop was a robot?
Yep.
And what if a robot was a cop? From 1986. It's your turn, right?
I think so.
David, is RoboCop the greatest movie ever made?
Justus.
Yeah.
I feel like I could just say yes. It's RoboCop, and that's the end of my argument.
Right, of course.
Which I kind of want to do because I don't know that I have much more to say about this.
Yeah.
But I think it is just really, really efficient, entertaining storytelling and filmmaking that has great satire and great themes, and there's so many different things that you can pull out of this movie and explore with an incredible cast that does really impressive work in this thing. It's not my favorite Verhoeven movie, but the 3 Verhoeven movies I've seen are all masterpieces of American cinema, and RoboCop is certainly one of those. So, yeah, this thing's the greatest movie ever made. Justus, you picked this.
Yeah.
For TGMEM-iversary. I want to know from you. Is it the greatest movie ever made?
Is RoboCop the greatest movie ever made? David, yes. First of all, it is. because I'm not a fucking idiot. So of course I think this is the greatest movie ever made. But beyond that, I had only seen this movie one time before. This is a movie that I've seen, like, between watching it and the full viewing again for the show, this is a movie that I found myself just, like, searching for clips of, and I've probably watched the entirety of this movie another time cumulatively by just, like, going back and watching scenes over again. It's a movie that I think about all the time. Sitting down and watching it from beginning to end again, first of all, this is still my favorite Verhoeven movie. Watching it this time, it worked even better for me than the first time I saw it, to the point where I was like, I kind of think this movie's maybe in my top 25 and possibly even in my top 10 if I did any kind of list. I kind of think this is becoming one of my favorite movies of all time, period. And I'm excited to go back to it again already. Like, I'm probably gonna rewatch this within the year because, like, after watching it this time, I was fucking with it so hard that I was kind of like, I'm currently watching RoboCop and I can't wait until I watch RoboCop again.
Yeah.
You know? And as I was watching it this time, it was striking me how much of this movie I think is completely perfect and flawless. Like I said before, I think the casting is perfect. I think the script is so well written. There are like 60 lines in this movie that people quote all the time. And rightfully so, because it's a very funny and punchy script. But also, like, the stuff that's not just, like, one-liners or, like, quotable quips in this movie is also incredibly well written. Like, some of the more emotional dialogue that we called out in our recap, like, it's really good shit. And the performances are incredible. The music is incredible. The effects are incredible almost entirely, with a couple of exceptions, right? And I was just watching it this time and just being like, I don't know how many movies I can point to that are better than this and that I enjoy more than this. So, like, not from like a just like a conceit of the show perspective, but like from like the Mad Max Fury Road Alien perspective, a couple of movies that we've covered before that fall into this bucket for me. I think that RoboCop is like actually one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's the greatest movie ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I'm working on a top 50 list, and it's towards the lower end of that list. It's around like the 40s or something. So that's kind of why it's not quite a quote unquote perfect movie for me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's still one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's legitimately one of the best action movies ever made, one of the best science fiction satires ever made, and just wildly entertaining throughout, and massively a massively impressive showcase of filmmaking from Paul Verhoeven.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love you, Paul. Thanks for making RoboCop.
Thanks for making RoboCop, Paul. Thanks for making Total Recall. Thanks for making that lesbian nun movie that I haven't seen, but I probably will because it's about lesbian nuns.
Robo wants an Oreo.
Justus, what are we talking about next week?
Unfortunately, David, because the whole way that we structured this month is good movie, bad movie, good movie, bad movie. Next week is the finale of TGMEM-iversary, and we're ending on a bad movie that I selected. So regrettably, I will have to view the film Shrek in advance of next week's episode. And I know it might be divisive to call it a bad movie. Who knows? Maybe when I revisit it, I will feel differently. But I remember disliking this movie heavily.
Yeah, maybe you will be looking kind of dumb with your finger and your thumb in the shape of an L on your forehead.
I just might.
I am so interested to hear you talk about why you dislike Shrek so much.
Yeah.
I think we have intentionally, I know that you don't like Shrek.
Yeah.
I think we have intentionally avoided having the deep conversation about Shrek.
Yeah.
And your feelings about it to save it for the show. So I can't wait to revisit this childhood animated film from my youth that I look back on rather fondly.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how that holds up for me. So join us next week as we talk all about Shrek and Donkey.
Donkey!
And the dragon that's hot. And
Cameron Diaz as a princess.
And Lord Farquaad.
Farquaad.
And all of the fun things that await us in Shrek. I don't know.
My
Show's
gumdrop
over.
buttons.
I want to go home. I have a dog licking my face. Thank you all for listening. Tell your friends about the show and continue to support us. And as always,
Later, dipshits. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast. And if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.